Hey, welcome to an On Location Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, pardon me. Fighting the weather at this point, holed up under shelter, waiting for another nice day. And that's kind of the theme for today's broadcast as well. Going to provide you with a debrief on a semi-perfect western wild chukar and quail hunt I just finished. Yeah, getting towards the end of the season, but still out there, chasing blue sky and dry ground. So if you're interested in chukar hunting, maybe pick up a tip or a technique, or just, hey, come on hunting with me, at least in your mind. That's what we're going to do today. That's not all, though. Way back on La Dia del Muertos, that was the Day of the Dead in most of Latin America, I asked you to post some great, artful, tasteful dead bird photos. I'm going to share some of those that go beyond the tailgate shot. So stick around for all of that. In our Fix It segment this week, a cold weather shooting tip that might help you just a little bit. I know it's been frustrating many times with me, and kind of came upon this as a hack or a hint that might help you as well. And don't forget, later on in the podcast, in our Fur Feathers Friends promotion, the word of the week could get you a Sage and Breaker shotgun cleaning mat worth $255. All you need to do is submit the word of the week at the website furfeathersfriends.com. And all of that, of course, is brought to you by Sage and Breaker Gun Care Products, Pointer Shotguns, Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, TrulockChokes Tubes, MidwayUSA.com, and Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food. Well, you're going to get enough from me in a few minutes on how the hunting has gone. So we're going to skip that little chat today and go right to you. As I mentioned, I got to think. The idea of a body pile or a tailgate shot of all the dead birds lined up, that doesn't do much for me. I don't have a problem with it. You might have some ethical or philosophical or practical reasons to do it or not do it. More power to you. I thought it would be fun on the Day of the Dead to go beyond all that. I'm married to an art major. I've worked with art directors most of my life in one way or another. I don't know art well, but I like to think I know what I like, and so do you. Some incredible pictures here I asked during this Dia de los Muertos. Show us your dead birds artfully displayed. And sure enough, we got them. John Salfisberg, beautiful shot of one ringneck with your over and under propped up against an old, it looks like barnwood. It might be a fence. Somebody worked really hard at that fence. With your short hair, beautiful short hair, black short hair. We might be related. I might know that short hair. Beautiful shot, a little tall grass in the foreground, and the dog gazing off in the distance as if he is looking for his next bird. Jim Matthews, thank you. Well, you've been in the world a while, publishing and all of that. You know how to lay out a dead quail. Next to your old, I want to say that's a Sweet 16. It's well worn, gotten some loving care and some good use, and then somebody's GPS handheld in the foreground as well. All on the tailgate, but in a way that just goes beyond the usual stuff. So thank you, Jim, for that, and looking forward to seeing you real soon, by the way. Here's one from Eric Thompson. And Eric, you are so good at this stuff. I appreciate it. Sorry we haven't been able to connect much. This is one ringneck right there filling up the frame, which is a classic rule in the photography world. And some fascinating hints at what's in the background. Good lighting, by the way. So you're getting all those colors. Don't ask me what they are, but look at the back of a pheasant and then follow it up to the head. Beautiful stuff. And then a massive flat boulder in the background, and then beyond that, that might be water back there. I don't know. I'm colorblind, but thank you, Eric, for another great shot. We are honoring all these birds by doing something a little bit better with them. Cheryl Tepp, I'm presuming that's you, and your Navdacap. In the background, maybe a willow thicket, and a Vizsla flanking you. He's got that 1,000-yard stare as well. And one Hun artfully displayed in between you two, hanging from the willow thicket. Beautiful shot. Keep up the good work, Cheryl. And hey, has everybody else noticed how many Huns there are this year? Well, not down there, but Lance Larson, once again, beautiful shot. You're to me, newish blaze orange hat in the foreground. And then almost half a Christmas wreaths shape of ringnecks. All the colors displayed, all the heads in a row. It's kind of it's a yin to somebody else's yang, if you know that world. Good shot. And I'm not surprised, of course. You know, you're making art all the time, and we love that. Let's see here. George Cummins. Yeah, I know all about your season out there, and I'm jealous for you. That must be some kind of a farm implement I've never seen before. I'll call it CRP grass now, but in the background it looks like tall CRP. But this is a big, wide something you pull behind horses, I don't doubt, with 3 ringnecks hanging from one end of it. Neat background. It looks a little bit like I don't know, back when we were playing at the dairy all the time. It was like a feeding bunk. Had those kind of vertical poles, whatever you call it. Beautiful shot. And of course, everybody's doing this in large part to brag, and I don't blame you. Let's just brag in a slightly artful way, like Jeffrey Phelan did. 2 short hairs, one basically gray and the other one brown and white, relaxing in the background. 1,000-mile stare to the right, the other 1,000-mile stare to the left. At least they're holding still. Some beautiful country in the background. It's, thigh-high CRP, and then flanked, surrounded by a beautiful green forest. It looks like some aspens on one side, some pines in the distance, and then in the foreground, a beautiful side-by-side and 2 ringnecks laying on it. And for a splash of color, there's a blaze orange vest underneath all of it. I remember when I was trying to be a photographer, everybody would tell you, well, when you're going out to take pictures of people fishing or hunting, tell them to bring 3 or 4 different jackets in different colors. First off, the color pops. Second off, you can get the same mileage out of the same shot because it looks different with a different jacket on it. Hey, whatever works, it's beautiful, and appreciate your going to the trouble of sharing those pictures with us all. Maybe it'll get everybody thinking about going beyond body piles next time we're taking a shot. And that part of the show is brought to you by PointerShotguns.com. Yeah, if Santa didn't leave what you wanted under the tree, remember the best over and under for less than $500 is the Pointer Acreus. That's according to the guys at Target Focused Life. Watch their review at YouTube, and then get over to PointerShotguns.com. Take a look at all the choices, all the finishes, all the gauges, and all the colors in Cerakote. PointerShotguns.com. And no matter what you're looking for, they've got it at MidwayUSA.com. Just got another shipment of non-toxic ammo, just about run out. I'll tell you that story down the road. But in the meanwhile, whatever you're looking for, I can guarantee you you'll find it at MidwayUSA.com. Always a promotion. Sign up for email or text messaging and you'll get 10% off your next order. Customer satisfaction is their number one goal. Yeah, you think you can't find it? Try again. Just go up to the search bar and type in what you're looking for. I can almost guarantee you'll find it at MidwayUSA.com. Well, welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, flying solo today. Just going to share what I described earlier as a semi-perfect wild chukar and quail hunt. I don't get many of those, so I may as well brag while I can. But more importantly than talking about, to me, what was pretty good shooting was just how all the stuff that we learn comes together once in a while. As the saying goes, even the blind hog finds the occasional acorn, and I'm the blind hog on this trip to one of my favorite places. I go there a lot. I've referenced them a lot of times. And you know, the other way to describe this story, besides chasing blue skies and dry ground, is old wine in new bottles. Or new wine. Yeah, actually, new wine in old bottles would be even better to torque the phrase 180 degrees. One of the lessons I'm learning constantly, in this season in particular, is I think I know a place pretty well. You know, I'm headquartered in a little tiny town, population 9. And I think I know that draw, I know that valley, I know that river valley down there. And so I'm going to just go to them. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm going to places I've never been before that are really close, that have just been ignored over the years. And believe me, I'm not regretting it. Yeah, you know, about every third time I do one of those forays, I cross that place off the list. But the other 2 times, I get lucky, or better still, I have a stellar day. We're getting to the end of the season, but even earlier in the season, once, you know, wintry weather starts, one of my goals this year was to get away from it. If you've hunted a lot on snow, you know it's not easy, it's not fun. You're cold, you're wet, your dog is worse off than you. He's running around naked and barefoot. And, you know, it's not what we look at. You know, you don't see a lot of magazine covers with a shivering dog and maybe one bedraggled wet bird. No, you see the blue skies and the dry ground. And I've been searching for that this year. And this is one of those. I just waited. And that might be a strategy for you down the road. I'm lucky enough to be able to just look at the calendar, look at the weather reports, check the road cameras, which are the most honest version of, hey, is there snow on the ground? Put all that together, drop everything, and go for some hunting. And in this case, it paid off. So this is a place I'd heard about from a buddy. Just never had the time or the inclination to go up this creek. And out there in the Great Basin, where I spend a lot of my chukar hunting time, well, I call it the place where rivers go to die, because most of the time, I mean, it's inland, and all of the mountain ranges that surround it, the streams will come off those mountain ranges into that Great Basin and basically dry out on the valley floor. It's a giant valley. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of square miles. So these creeks that are running, gushing 1,000 or 2,000 feet uphill from you, when you turn off the state highway and you start going up one of these draws, the stream beds are often dry, especially in the summer, but even in the winter before all the snow is dumped down and then starts melting again for spring. So anyway, I go up one of those, and sure enough, there's a puddle at the bottom. Just a puny, miserable, stagnant puddle. I park there, get Flick out of the truck. We're all ready to go. I did everything right and actually marked my waypoint, the truck as a waypoint for the, I'll tell you that story later. But I turned him the wrong way, and we go down valley. We go downstream. If there had been a stream all the way down, we go that way, just to let him work off a little energy. But we have, one of those sunny, beautiful days. It's still early enough in the morning where the heat is on the south-facing slopes above us. So the breeze is coming down slope and down this creek bottom. And it's a pretty, as creeks go out there, it's pretty narrow. You're in shade almost all day. And that, of course, creates its own challenges, but we'll get to those in a minute. But there was no snow on the ground. Most of the soil was dry, not that mud that turns into gumbo when it gets a little wet after a snow melt or after a rainstorm. So he's ready, I'm ready, we're walking. And once we get down a few hundred yards, I swing him back upstream and upwind, and he's working good. I got him on the one side of the stream, the downwind side of basically a thicket of willow trees at this point. It's pretty strong. It's 8 to 10 feet high. You can't walk through it. So I had to beat my way through it in one place so I'm on the same side as him. So we got high hopes. It's very quaily looking. And how would I describe that? I'd describe it as, maybe some water, a good riparian zone, healthy, lush riparian zone with lots of wet soil that is growing all those low 4B type plants that quail will eat this time of year along with everything else. And then that overhead cover. Because, if I had a nickel for every hawk I saw on this hunt, I wouldn't have to be doing a podcast anymore. So anyway, we're going up the correct side of the creek, and he's working hard. And knock wood, he is mature enough to know that, the birds are along this stream course. So I'm going to go up a ways and then come back a ways. Rather than that, what we all know, we humans know as kind of a windshield wiper pattern. When you get in a linear oasis like that, some dogs will just figure that out. Okay, I know the wind's coming kind of from my left as I'm going uphill. So I'm going to go all the way up to that spot, sniff around. I'm going to sniff my way all the way back. And I'm lucky enough that Flick does that quite often. And it'll come in handy later. We're getting nothing, though, until we get into the really steep stuff. And granted, this is when you're glad, part of the year, some of the nice ranchers out there, it's BLM land. It's desert. But there are some edible plants for the cows. So they're grazing it part of the year. And those cows, in the course of their grazing, are basically doing what Flick's doing, going upstream and downstream. And they've created some pretty nice walking paths for us, even in that really steep stuff. So once in a while, cows have their place, and that's one of them, because otherwise my ankles would still be hurting. So I'm using the cow path, and Flick's down a little bit deeper into that canyon. When he stops, and the only reason I know he stops is because the handheld controller on my GPS collar says, hey, he stopped. He's over there and he's on point. And he's only 60 yards away, but it's 60 uphill yards. And we're starting at 4,500 feet and we're going up from there. So there's some thinner air. And there's a few obstacles here and there, but I'm heading in that general direction when the quail aren't going to wait any longer. He's on point. They bolt. Most of them go straight upstream. The unlucky one decides he's going to take advantage of gravity and what's left of that downslope wind. And he fires up the afterburners and he's headed my way. Well, I knew he was on point, so I was kind of ready. And then I knew I couldn't get to him in time, so I got even more ready. And here it comes. One little speck right up there. Of course, it's the worst shot in the world for a guy who's left-eye dominant and shoots right-handed. He's coming downhill, left to right. I was just in the right place at the right time. Bam! Down he tumbles, rolls. Flick is on him. Well, like a starving bird dog on a dead bird. But he's got enough discipline to go and get it and bring it back to me. I let him hold it for a minute or two. He did all the hard work, so I'm grateful for that. And it worked so well. You know, one of the things I learned a long time ago is if you want your dog to retrieve to you more and better, don't swipe that bird the moment he shows up with it. That's the ultimate reward for them. Why don't you let him you can help hold it, but don't let him get the impression you're going to take it right away. And then with a puppy, I always barter. Once we've done that, I'll trade him a little food treat for the bird. Anyway, works for me. So we carry on. And up there, again, we got cows, we got wilderness areas, we got some private ground. So I'm rolling under the barbed wire fence. By the time I get all my stuff collected, make sure I didn't leave anything when I rolled under, I can't find Flecky. He's on point again. This time he's downstream from me. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to go under that fence again. No, because he's not on point anymore. He's coming back with a half-eaten chukar. And I know he didn't have time to eat it. Nobody here shot it. So it had been left there or died there or whatever it was. But I still took it from him as if he was the hero, and I'm glad for it. And this will all make sense later on in our hunt. But that was, nice that he would bring it back instead of swallowing it. So I count that as a victory, and we carry on. Further up the hill, he's around a corner. This canyon just kind of makes about a 60-degree turn to the north. And here goes the beeper again, not the the little indicator on your handheld. Beep, beep. He's on point. I can't even see the stream bed anymore that far up. He's 150 yards away from me. And again, those birds, they've been pressured by now. Those birds, he's pointing, what I figured out later is he's pointing right into a little flat spot that's, the water's gurgling along. It's kind of almost a riffle if you're a trout fisherman, but it's not that big. And the cover is more open. There's a few alder trees, a little mountain mahogany, and there's less willows. So he can see the birds and they can see him, is what I surmised. They weren't going to stand for that. And of course, given enough time, he wouldn't stand for it anyway. All I can guess is that, again, most of the birds went up the hill. 2 of them came down the hill. Another passing shot, dropped it right on the trail. Now this one took a while for Flick to get because he was up there and he had to figure out where I was. Luckily, he kind of knows to come to where the shot took place. This one was the easiest retrieve he had of the day. And I'm grateful for that because we had a lot more to do very soon. 2 valley quail in the bag, which In many cases, that time of year, this time of year, is a good day. And have you ever held a valley quail in your hand? It's a little hard to tell when they're flying away from you, but they are so vividly colored. They're not a ringneck, but the contrasts, the patterns, the deep, dark black of a male's head, and that top knot. They're magical birds. They're made to distract us so we don't kill too many of them. They're just beautiful to hold. And Flick is taking so good care of them these days. I'm so grateful for his retrieving. It's so soft. In fact, we were out on a training run a few days ago, and you know your dog. When he's coming back to you, you can tell. I don't care what it is, but you can tell there's something in his mouth. So he comes right up to me. We just stand there, look at each other. We know the drill. Then I reach down, praise him up, and say, give. He drops out of his mouth a fully intact valley quail egg. Not a tooth mark on it. Well, it's well past its prime, so I'm glad for that because, whew, an egg that's been sitting outside for a couple months, no thank you. Anyway, soft mouth, knock wood again. He doesn't wait for glory, though. He's back on the trail. I'm Scott Linden. This is the Upland Nation podcast. So far, chukar hunt is still in the offing, but the lesson here is quite often if you like to hunt chukars and you're in the right place, start at the bottom of the hill, especially if there's water there. The first half, the warm-up, is a pretty good quail walk. And we're getting higher and higher. We probably covered 1,000 feet by now. And I finally get a look at the first point from Flick that I've been able to watch from start to finish. I'm way up the really steep, 60-degree slope. Way up this ravine. And I see him, and he's down at the bottom of this ravine, and this is where the draw splits in two. There's a wet fork and a dry fork, and he's in the dry fork. There's no water in this creek bottom, but there's a massive boulder. I bet it's 3-foot diameter boulder. Just rolled off the top of the cliff like they do. Glad I wasn't there. Lands smack dab in the creek bottom. And poof, hey, there's a wire hair downstream from that boulder. And he is, your dog, he is laser focused on the rock. Tails up. You see that little quiver? There's something there. So what do? You're 35, 45 feet up there. So again, I know better. I just got in position. I knew the moment I started trying to slip and slide down that slope with an open gun, that's when the bird would fly. I never saw that bird until it waddled out from under the other side of that boulder and went straight downstream again. Another left to right crosser for this cross-dominant shooter. But Carlson, no, I won't tell you that. But anyway, I connected again. So now you know why I'm telling you this story, because, hey, I've hit all 3 birds I shot at. Last quail of the day. Best quail of the day. And you know why. That dog hit the point. I figured out what was going on. I was close enough. I had the right chokes in my shotgun. I had the right loads in my shotgun. And I had a little bit of a heads up so I could get my feet in position and get my shotgun in what we call the ready position. Once again, a simple retrieve. Flick had to run about 20 yards to get it. But he had to go all the way up the other side of that ravine, then come back all the way down and all the way back up to me. It was time for a little water break, and he deserved a little rest, and I'm trying to do that more often. I'll put that traffic lead on him, and we'll just stand still for a few minutes. He'll never lay down, but he'll stand still for a few minutes. And maybe that's the lesson here for us too. Hey, stand still for a minute or two. We're just getting to the good stuff. Here on the Upland Nation podcast, we will be making the transition from quail country to chukar country in just a moment. Yeah, I want to remind you that one of the reasons I shoot better than I used to shoot, especially in ravines with bad light, it's because of those interlocking light pipes that I get from HiViz I use a bright, I think it's yellow, it might be lime green. I should have the art director in our family tell me. But it is so bright that I can see the muzzle, sort of, with my mind, while I'm actually zeroing in on the flying target. No need to divide your brain in two halves. That never works. Take my word for it. You want to learn more about the mechanics of all of that and take a look at all the different easy to install light pipe systems. Go to HiVizSights.com. Did you see that great story in Covey Rise magazine on Fred Bohm and SageandBreaker.com? Well-deserved, Fred. Good job, and keep up the good work. SageandBreaker.com is where you'll find the highest quality gun cleaning and gun care products. Yeah, they say crafted at the highest caliber for a reason. Yeah, they make the high quality gun cleaning products and accessories that you need to make life simple after the hunt and at the end of the season. Learn more at SageandBreaker.com. Welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden. We're talking about the Great Basin. In this case, somewhere over there by the border between Oregon and Nevada. If you work at it, you'll find a place just like this. There's a lot of them. I'm Scott Linden. I'm relating to you some lessons, some good stuff that happened. So if you haven't gotten a fix for a while, maybe I can help you there. And don't forget to stick around. I've got a lot more to talk about when it comes to a winter shooting tip and then also the word of the week for that Sage and Breaker shotgun cleaning mat. So stick around. But first, let's get back to that creek, which now is gushing because we're up high enough to where what snow there is that is left on this range is melting. It was a warm enough spell of weather. That's why I went there. We're still walking on dry ground, and the sky was still robin's egg blue. And how lucky is that in December? Yeah, you know, don't you? So, Flick's dropped off the last quail, and we took a moment. I had a little snack. I gave him a little bit more water. But he's chomping at the bit. So I'm turning him loose again. And we go off to the dry side tributary of this creek. I'm just rationalizing, hey, he's already going that way. I may as well follow him. He's got the longer nose. Then I'm thinking, okay, when we get to the top, I'll just swing around. We'll come down the wet side. Well, we didn't have to worry about that for a while because here comes Chukar. About the moment that Flick goes on point. And I only know all this because of my handheld GPS. It's telling me he's on point, but he's 60, 80 yards away. And again, uphill. So there goes one. And I'm thinking, okay, where there's one, maybe there, hey, here comes another one. Yeah. From up there, I'm ready again because now I'm learning slowly but surely. And I've talked about this, I think, in the newsletter. If you can't get to your dog in time, well, figure out the likely path most of those birds are going to take to escape from your dog and stand in it and get ready to shoot. So I did. In this one, if you've seen any videos of a driven shoot in England or Scotland or even in the States now, that's what this was. This was one lone chukar coming up over the rise, and I'm down in that canyon just waiting for him. Son of a gun. Fourth shot, fourth bird. But before I can pat myself on the back, here comes the fifth one. So I've got a double to report when I get back to camp. Now that doesn't happen very often, a sorted double on chukars. Even better news, I watched them both land. They went down another 50 or 80 yards into that canyon we were coming up. Marked them both well for a change, and there's a lesson in that, I'll tell you. The first one is know that they're going to roll downhill. The second is go to the first one, send your dog to the second one. All right, if you find the first one, back off, let your dog have it afterwards, but at least you'll know where it is. Again, Flick is, I don't remember what the term is, the map makers call it something, when you've got a 50-yard distance from ravine edge to ravine edge, but you got to go 150 yards down and 150 yards up to get the bird and then bring it all back. Well, Flick was up for it, and he did a good job. In fact, I helped him with the second bird, which ended up being the first bird. I'd put a hat down on the bush nearest that dead bird, and then I backed off. But he found it without any help. And we're all happy because Flick's saying, hey, these are the biggest quail I've carried around all day. And chukars are like quail in that they're kind of drab on the wing when you hold one in your hand, if you've ever done that. Or even open the magazine and take a good look at a good-looking chukar in somebody's hand. The patterns, the colors are subtle but beautiful. That bandit mask, the black that comes down off their head into their neck and then in part of their chest, that scalloped feathering on the chest. It's all there for a reason, and believe it or not, most of the time I think that reason is camouflage. If you're up there in this country, you know what I mean. It's a drab landscape. I'm not saying it's ugly. I'm just saying it's not what everybody would call pretty. Sagebrush, sand, lava rocks. They all create this vibe of foreboding Mad Max wilderness. And here we are having fun in it. Aren't we lucky? And then a bird gets up. Our dog goes on point. And then, wow. That's why we go, isn't it? Okay, that's why I go. So I finally get up to where Flick is finding all these birds, and he's still hunting up there. I bring him back in. In the NAVDA system, every judge will tell you during the test, all right, once he does all this stuff and he brings your bird back, give him a drink of water. It's not to hydrate your dog. It's to slow him down, to calm him, to get everybody's gear back in place to settle the whole vibe just a little bit. So we do a little bit of that, and then I swing him back around. And by now we are on this plateau, and it's 1,000 yards square. Slight slope, but mainly kind of level walking. And if you've been climbing for 1,500 feet, there's nothing better than discovering a flat spot. And for some reason, this year in particular, flat spots are where all the chukars are. Now, they haven't been driven down far enough by weather yet, so they can be almost everywhere. And we found tracks on what little snow was left. But they're walking around wherever they want. There's moisture everywhere. And we were in a place that I don't think anybody else had been in for a while. So they weren't even worried about predators per se, at least human predators. So I'm letting Flick do the heavy lifting. He's moving 300-400 yards away, back and forth, doing all the stuff you are hoping to do. When he slams another point, and this one I could see from the very beginning, I'm headed towards him. And it may be almost flat, but it's still uphill a little bit. So I don't get there before the birds fly. But I take one shot at one bird while holding my middle finger up to it because it got away a little bit too soon. I thought I missed it. Flick knew better. As soon as he saw that bird rock, and I must have been looking at him when it did, as soon as he saw that, he was off like a bolt of lightning. And when that guy wants to run, he can run fast. Oh, he can also run far. It's a blessing and a curse having that collar control in your hand because you know how far away he's going and you think, okay, turn around, give up. That bird was not shot. At 435 yards, I started blowing the whistle, hoping he might hear it. Turns out I didn't need to worry about that. He found that bird at the bottom of the canyon that we were going to go down next and brought it all the way back. Are you keeping score? I am. I think that's 5 for 5, maybe 6 for 6. Well, don't worry. I'm sure it'll end soon, but not yet. We're heading back down the hill. And this is the wet side of the two tributaries. And just about where where I'm going to suggest it transitions from chukar country to quail country. Flick's down in the bottom, snorting around in the brush. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe you'll find another dead one like he did. No. He just keeps that nose to the ground, and if you train your dog for tracking, you can tell that look. He's on something, and he's figuring out the direction. He doesn't run in circles, but he snuffles real slow, and he's just drinking it all in, and he's so focused on that scent. He is purposeful, and then he starts moving slowly up the grade, and it's a steep one. It's probably 45 degrees. Yeah, 45 degrees. I'm looking at him, but out of the corner of my eye at the top, higher up from him, 20 yards uphill from him, I see some motion, and sure enough, it's one chukar. Probably came out of that covey that I shot the double from. So I'm shutting up, but I'm also adjusting my foot position and watching Flick work. And he is working just like a great tracking dog should. Slow, deliberate. When the scent is faint, he moves a little left. It's either better or it's worse. He moves the other way. It's better or worse. Oh, it's better. So he's still moving up, and he's still moving slow. He hasn't seen the bird yet. Before he does see it, it flies. And it flies right down the hill, down into that channel. Boom. I was ready. I had lots of warning. I would have been embarrassed to have missed it, but I didn't. Flick figured that out real fast. You know, he's got a sixth sense. When he hears a shot, he looks at me. He probably sees me look that way, and he goes that way. And it worked. And he had to search a little for this one because it hit way up and it rolled way down. But again, he gets up to where he thought that bird was, and then he tracks the roll. Now, I know there's not a lot of scent, but if a chucker's rolling down a hill, that's better than foot scent. That's whole body scent. I figured that was it. We better get out of there. Number one, it was getting warm, believe it or not. Number two, what do you do for an encore? If you've ever had a day like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't yet, the only way you will is to go out and do it again. But I looked at that day and I thought, I'm going to savor it forever. The dog work was everything I wanted. The birds were cooperative, if not suicidal. The country, mind-blowing. Dry ground, blue skies. Yeah, you can't top it. So we didn't. We went back to camp, shared the story with the only other folks there, and celebrated that night by going to the local elementary school Christmas program. All is right in the world when you're bird hunting with a great dog. Anybody can argue with that? I didn't think so. Oh my. Well, stick around. We got lots more. I hope you enjoyed that, brag, if you want to call it that. An incredible, unrepeatable quail and chukar hunt. Lots of lessons and lots of fun. We'll be talking about a cold weather shooting tip, and I'll have that word of the week for our Fur Feathers Friends initiative coming up after a word from TrulockChokes.com. I was over and over on those downhill crossing shots. I was reminded of how important good choke tubes are. The last thing you want is to be on that bird, pull the trigger, and realize that there are holes in your pattern. Doesn't happen at TrulockChokes. These guys figure this stuff out. They engineer and manufacture at the highest level on state-of-the-art CNC equipment. If you want to add another bird to your bag, the simplest way to do it is replace those factory chokes with precision chokes from TrulockChokes.com. And Flick performed beyond expectation in large part because he is fed Pro Plan Sport dog food from Purina. It's nutrient dense, the right proportion of 30% protein, 20% fat, and it tastes great. Now I have to take his word on that, but that's what he tells me. And isn't that most important when you're on the road and the dog has other things to worry about, maybe a little nervous, maybe off his feed a little bit? Well, not when it tastes as good as Purina Pro Plan Sport. Yeah, learn more about all their formulations. There's something for every dog at every life stage. Learn it all at ProPlansport.com. Well, welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast. Scott Linden here with Fix It, where I get to share all my misadventures and offer up suggestions so you don't have to have them. In this case, not that day, but many days. In fact, I was in one spot on that same trip thinking, the last time I was here, I was thigh deep in snow. Well, I don't do that anymore, but I still do have to wear other layers of clothing as the temperature plummets. You ever notice how bad you shoot when you got another jacket or another sweatshirt on? Well, think about it. Let's pretend your shotgun fits you pretty well, or you've just gotten used to accommodating the weird fit. Well, add another quarter or a half inch of clothing, and all of a sudden your gun is too short. Too long. The distance between your trigger finger and your shoulder, where the gun is now longer. So what can you do about that? First off, the gun mount is harder. Second off, you're just not, it's not swinging the same. We can do something about the first part. That's easy. Choke up. If you played baseball, you know what I mean. On a shotgun, choke up by taking your offhand, the forward hand, and moving it a little closer to your face, a little closer to the breech by a half inch. So when you're getting in the ready position, bring your hand a little closer to the buttstock. Just a little. Take a wild guess at how much more clothing you have and move it that much. Your gun mount will be smoother. Your gun fit, if you will be more appropriate. Bang! Maybe you'll give your dog one more retrieve. All right, it's Fur Feathers Friends time. First prize for the month of January is a Sage and Breaker shotgun cleaning mat, $255 value. And then as we get deeper and deeper into it, more prizes coming along. And the grand prize, midsummer, a 4-pack of pointer shotguns. All 4 gauges, your choice, over and unders or side-by-sides. Right now, we're going for the Sage and Breaker cleaning mat. The word of the week, shotgun. Simple, isn't it? Go to furfeathersfriends.com. Scroll down to the bottom, fill out the form, add the word of the week, and you're entered to win that Sage and Breaker shotgun cleaning mat. Word of the week, shotgun. Good luck. And Fix It, brought to you by Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School. Speaking of fixing your shooting, they're all hunters. They know what works on the range and in the field. MidvalleyClays.com is Subgauge Central, so if you're shopping for a new shotgun, any gauge, call Dave Fiedler. This guy knows guns, he knows hunting, and he's a champion clay target shooter. He'll consult with you on what might be the most appropriate configuration for your new shotgun, and then when you're ready to buy, he'll ship one anywhere. Make him your first counsel on your new shotgun needs. Go to MidvalleyClays.com. Well, thanks for putting up with my brag. Maybe you learned something out of it. The weather out there is getting worse, not better, so I'm careful. I might have to do another one. But in the meanwhile, I sure appreciate your attention and all your good wishes over the holiday season. Hope you're having a great 2025. If you enjoy these podcasts, please leave a rating at Apple Podcasts. Thank you to everybody who contributes, whether it's a picture of a dead bird or advice or a question. Thank you to our sponsors, Sage and Breaker, Purina Pro Plan Sport, Mid-Valley Clays, TrulockChokes, MidwayUSA.com, Pointer Shotguns, and HiViz Shooting Systems. Hey, got some new stuff up at FineBirdHuntingSpots.com from a bird hunter beer drinking primer. Primer is the book, primer is the ammo. Anyway, and a few other things along those lines. So take a look at FineBirdHuntingSpots.com. And then I will see you again next week. I'm Scott Linden. Thanks for listening to the Upland Nation Podcast.